set now.
All
So,
righty
all right,
then.
here we go. Welcome to the Macworld Podcast. Everyone is in the house today.
In the house.
In the house, we got Jason Cross,
Hello.
Leif Johnson,
Hiya.
and the man behind the mic,
That's
behind
me.
the scenes, our
you
producer.
are also behind the mic, but
I'm also behind the
the screen.
But
Behind the screen.
yes, so the man behind the scenes. That's what I meant to say. Is our producer Dan Masuoka.
No longer the most important man in the room?
Yeah, I was just about to say.
I used to be
the
important.
most important man in the room.
Maybe because you're here today, that I'm no longer, so lost that title.
Dan's the most important man in the room because he is tracking our YouTube and Twitter feeds for your comments and questions. If you got any thoughts on the show, please let us know. Dan will chime in with your guys' thoughts and questions. It's the most important part of our show. It gets us going. So let us know what you guys are thinking. On today's topics, we're going to talk about group FaceTime. We're going to talk about iPhone rumors. But first, we're going to talk about a report that came out this morning about the possibility of Apple AR glasses and an Apple Car coming in the next few years.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So Ming-Chi Kuo, forgive me if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. I'm Asian, but I'm not Chinese. So
Don't look at me because I am also Asian but not Chinese. So
and some would even say, as some of my relatives even say to me, "You're not really Asian because I'm American."
No,
they think I'm American first.
I thought you were gonna say you're the jungle Asian.
Yes, I'm
That's-
jungle Asian,
jungle
as Ali Wong puts it. I am a jungle Asian. But Ming-Chi Kuo put out a report, and it was more a research note than like
That's what he does now.
Yes.
It's research notes.
Right. He was doing research and came to these conclusions on his own. It wasn't necessarily based on direct information that he's found, right?
Which
Is that
makes a
correct to
lot of
say?
He often has a lot of his research notes and stuff that he writes are based on sources in the supply chain
Yeah.
that say something like, the iPhone this year is going to have 3 cameras or something,
Right.
because he knows the parts being ordered and stuff.
Yeah, he's putting two and two together.
Yeah, and well, yeah, he literally knows like the suppliers for Apple what have been ordered. Somebody tips him off. This is not that.
Right.
This is just he's going off of the other sort of rumors and stuff going on and trying to make an analysis of Apple's long-term prospects.
Yeah.
What new things they're going to bring to market and stuff,
Right.
and when.
And it seems weaker when he does that.
Is it? I
Well,
mean,
of course, but
But he's been
that's
very-
part of his job. He works for a
Yes.
financial
Right.
analyst firm, and that's what he does.
But he's been pretty spot on or close to spot on in the past. So that's why people pay attention to him.
Yes.
Definitely one of the most respected ones.
Yeah. You were going to say, Dan?
well, I was just gonna say, like, so is this so much as a rumor versus a speculation? Like, how do we define the two?
Come see, come saw.
Yeah, it's speculation that starts the rumor.
Yeah, this is all really right in line with Mark Gurman's report from earlier in the year at Bloomberg, where he said that Apple's working on this big AR glasses project.
Yeah.
Probably going to launch in somewhere around 2020. Now Kuo is saying the same thing.
Right.
Not saying I have different verifiable independent sources on this. He's just saying like, hey, these are the things that this is all part of Apple being worth $1 trillion and going, well, how could they get to $2 trillion?
Right.
Well, they've got this is what they've got going on in the next.
Right.
The bigger thing, or not bigger, but like the thing people are glomming onto more is that the car,
The literally bigger thing.
yeah, the literally bigger thing is that, and he thinks that an Apple branded car, a car made by Apple, will ship in 2023 to 2025, somewhere in that time frame. Which
That seems reasonable.
it seems like a reasonable time frame. Whether or not Apple would make a car themselves,
Right.
or make software for other car makers, or what is the thing that nobody seems to be in agreement on.
Yeah.
And honestly, at this point, Apple may not even know for sure.
Right.
I mean, they may be working and exploring all these possibilities, and then decide, you know what, being a car company is
Right.
like a whole other ball of wax that we don't want to get into.
And they sort of kind of gave that impression recently.
Yes.
By saying we're only going to work on software like CarPlay and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
then they had this recent hire of the Tesla guy. I forget his name.
Yes, he was an operations guy.
Right. And he was with Tesla, and then he worked on the Model 3, and then now he's back at Apple.
Yeah, he was at Apple.
Yeah, and he was at Apple, left for Tesla, came back to Apple.
And he's working on what they call Project Titan, which is all the self-driving car stuff.
Right.
But it still doesn't say whether or not they're just going to make effectively a computerized driver
Right.
or a whole car. You know, you'll buy a car with an Apple logo on it.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of dangerous for Apple because, so far it's been these, lovely little items that we interact with on our daily basis. You're literally putting your life in Apple's hands. And we've seen what we've done with Apple Maps and everything, even with the improvements. I mean, that's a whole, like Jason was saying, that's a whole new ball game. And that's new liabilities, that could, people start dying in those things. That could really change the image of the brand. I'm not even really big on it just for that.
Well,
So.
Philip Allen on YouTube is asking, do you think there's some kind of relationship, investment technology partnership between Tesla and Apple? Because that would make nope. If you think about companies that would make sense, where I think Apple would be able to kind of really control that ecosystem and be like, this is the experience, and that is it. It would probably be with Tesla. Like, it's not going to happen with anyone else.
It would be, but Tesla really has the wagon circled.
Yes.
They don't even
off.
support CarPlay or Android Auto. They have their own map stuff, all their own softwares, their own, like, they really, like, they won't even tell you what hardware is used in their car for their sort of self-driving stuff. They've been using NVIDIA's platform for a while. They're supposedly building their own. Like I think they have a very not built here culture, and I don't think they would necessarily do that.
But what if?
So
it came out late last week.
Yeah.
That Elon Musk wants to take Tesla private,
right?
Which would take, and he has said he has the funding, but there have been reports that say he doesn't really have the funding.
Yeah, the board was like, "Oh, you do?"
Yeah, exactly. Right. And it would be like what I've seen. I want to say it was like 60 billion to do it.
It's a lot. He wants to do it at 420 shares,
$420
dollars a share.
Yeah,
which it works out to
talking
be
to Grimes,
many billions of dollars.
And Apple has 245 billion sitting there.
Yep.
So what if Apple said, "Hey, Elon, here's some money. We'll be." To take it private, we'll be your partner, but I don't know how they would work out the logistics of that. I'm not saying Apple's doing that, but
now the rumors the funding is from Saudi Arabia,
right? The rumor is,
but that doesn't sound like an Apple way to go either.
No, it doesn't sound like an Apple way to go, but
most likely, I mean, it's really hard to be a car company. Just getting the scale of your supply chain to get all the pieces and parts you need to build a car into the place that you actually build the car, and then get those cars all around the world is a massive multi-year undertaking.
Yeah.
That nobody successfully does. Like that Tesla has survived for, is it a decade even yet?
Yeah.
And has bled money the whole time. It is a minor miracle. Like you can just like take off all the car companies that have died.
Yeah.
So
it's also so crazy overvalued, right?
I
believe it's so crazy. If you look at how many, the revenue that they bring in is like a tenth of like GM, or but they're equal, basically like almost the same in value. That's bogus.
It could be the future.
Yeah, there's that, but there's also even if the car thing doesn't work out, just the battery plant they have.
Right.
They could stop building cars and still have in a few years, they'll have half the world's battery production. It's just, there's other issues. They make they bought Solar City, so they make
flamethrowers.
Is that
the big flamethrower business? Yeah.
Is that Tesla thing, or is that Boring Company?
Is that Boring? I think it
was the Boring Company.
One of Musk's
it's not Tesla. It's
goofy
Boring.
things. Yeah. So there's I don't know if Apple and Tesla are working. Would even work together, but there's no sign that they are. It seems like the car companies that they're working with are it's not Mercedes, is it? there's a couple other car companies that they appear to be working with in terms
they're
of
European
using their
countries.
cars to make test platforms and stuff, and none of them's Tesla. So.
Yeah. If they are working with Tesla, they've done a very good job of keeping it under wraps. So,
And plus, Tesla's so far down the road on their own
right.
autonomous driving technology. What are they going to do? Throw that out and use Apple's? And wait. I mean, they want to push that out like this year or next year.
Right.
They're going to wait 3 or 4 years for Apple's thing.
Yeah.
In a way, though, that is kind of like what I could see how Apple could be attracted at, because Apple wants to own all those processes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tesla
Those two.
already owns those processes. It'd be a way of owning it without, if they were to acquire it.
Now,
I'm not saying Apple's
the
buying
reasoning
Tesla.
behind why people think Apple would actually make a whole car and not just make a software and hardware platform for the self-driving part of other car companies' cars, is that then they could get into car financing. And you know how they're and that's kind of the growth of their company, is all the service things,
Right. Services.
Apple Care, the Apple like iPhone replacement program, stuff like that. Like that's the next big, and it's very lucrative. That's a huge thing. It takes a lot of money to get it started. They have a lot of money, so.
Well, that's in that direction. That would also be a very Apple thing, because they love having the hardware and the software and knowing how those two work together.
Yep.
So in a car that Apple actually makes, that would be an extension of that ideal.
Right. Yeah. I think even if they only made, quote, the driver part,
Right.
it would be the driver and cameras and the heads-up display unit. And those things would all, that part of it would all be Apple stuff, and then the part that actually turns wheels would be made by whoever.
Yeah.
What's that plan that Apple has where you get a new phone every year?
It's
What's
not the
that one?
iPhone replacement plan. It's the iPhone. God, what is it called?
Oh, I forget what it's called.
forget the
Because you
It's
guys
actually
both
very
It's on
have
our
it.
site.
How much does that cost?
I don't have it.
I don't
Yeah,
have it.
I don't have
I
it
buy
either.
my phone outright.
I just buy it to own it because the resale value is high enough that I'm better off reselling it.
It's the
I just have the
iPhone
Verizon
upgrade
plan.
program.
Yeah, I knew it was something simple like that.
I was wondering how much would the Apple Car upgrade program cost
Right.
per month?
I mean, if you think about it, it's kind of what a lease is.
Yeah.
In just 3
true.
years, you would turn it in and get another.
This would be every year.
That'd be cool if you could go into an Apple store.
Yeah,
and just
they could do it every year.
Buy an Apple
You
car
can
with
get
your
a 1 year
watch.
lease.
Yeah.
Yeah, buy an Apple car with your watch. They take Apple Pay for your car payments. Of course they would.
So
It's your car fob also.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean they already do that with some cars.
Oh, really?
Tesla's app will unlock your car and all that stuff.
But you still have to open up the app.
Yeah, this would be just it just detects
Yeah.
your iPhone and
Yeah.
that would be. There's
Have
a
you-
lot you could do.
have you been in an M3? I haven't been
No.
in it, but I've seen.
Oh,
have you
Model
seen,
3?
I've seen it,
Yeah, the
yeah.
Model 3. The Model 3.
No, I
Yeah,
haven't been inside one.
yeah, because it's. I mean, there's no dash. It's basically just the screen.
Yeah, it's just a screen in the middle, which is awkward.
Yeah, it looks awkward to me, and it just
Yeah.
looks strange to have no instrumentation within your eyesight
Where
of
the
driving.
wheel is.
Yeah.
On the
So,
other hand, from people who've driven it, they say
it's not a big deal.
yeah,
Yeah.
you quickly get used to it. You look
Yeah.
over there all the time for your map and stuff, anyways.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So
They clearly designed that car to eventually drive itself.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, yes. Right. So
I know that there's a lot of weird legal and liability things. Because for example, my car has one big screen in the middle, but then it also has like the separate system that's just has your your speed, and they're two completely separate systems for my
Yes.
car.
Right.
And the one that's the main screen where you can control music or audio plus navigation and all that. That one crashes all the time.
Oh, really?
Like it's just restarts. And I'm on a Toyota and it's their own thing, but it's
Yeah. That's one of the things. If that's going to be your whole screen for everything, it needs to be bulletproof. It needs to be have all the redundancy. It needs to be as stable and reliable as just that little thing of your your speed and tachometer
your
and stuff.
analog
Your
dials,
analog.
yeah.
Well, not a lot have analog dials anymore,
Right.
but that's like a separate system.
That's
Mine's
true,
like
yeah.
that too.
Yeah.
I have a Chevy and I have a middle thing that does CarPlay and Android Auto, and I have an LED fancy graphics thing for you can change the way it looks and all that stuff, but that for my speed and energy use and all that stuff.
And we have a couple comments from YouTube. First, Aji says Apple Car would be released worldwide?
Not
and
at
then
first.
and then also Sean says Johnny Ive would improve that screen in the middle. So yeah, what kind of a minimalist experience would he give?
Yeah,
Judging from CarPlay.
The one thing that's weird about the
It's
Model
like good or
3,
bad for him.
It does look like, to me, it looks like a big 17-inch or 15-inch screen on like a iPhone holder.
Yeah,
the
it's on a
middle of
little
your-
pedestal, which is kind of strange.
Yeah, it looks kind of strange. It almost looks tacked on. So, and I understand from reading other articles about, Elon Musk's goal was to have nothing on the dash, and he wanted that screen. But it does look like the screen is kind of an afterthought. But we have OLEDs now that could probably wrap and they.
Compared to the Model S, where it's vertical and it's integrated in
Right,
the dash,
right.
it does look tacked on. I think part of it was a cost reduction
right,
thing. They're trying to
right.
make things less expensive to
Right.
manufacture. Yeah, maybe Johnny Ive would make it better.
Have there been any renders of like a fake Johnny Ive inspired car?
Oh yeah, tons of them.
there's a
And,
lot of
and
those.
was he involved with like the design for like the whole antenna gate? Be like, you're not holding the steering wheel correctly. That's your fault.
One of the fortunate things about designing a car is that there are numerous safety regulation standards that things have to go
Yeah.
through, and tests upon tests upon tests upon tests before you can sell a car.
Yeah.
Would it be released worldwide? Who knows? They may not. They're probably not even making one. We're like, oh,
Yeah, I know. For all we know, they're not.
for all we know, they're not even making
Yeah.
any kind of actual whole car.
Just
Yeah,
like a
just working
phone, I
on
think it would
software.
be,
Yeah.
they would do a staggered release. It would be
Yeah, who knows?
US and stuff, and then UK.
Yeah,
and
it'd be
then-
12 countries first, and then more worldwide.
It would be the US first, I'm pretty sure. Yes. And
Some of Western Europe and stuff. They do that with the iPhones.
Yes,
It's kind of-
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's always someone in New Zealand in line first to
Yes.
get their first iPhone.
Yeah.
And since like I'm just reading our title, you say AR glasses and Apple Car rumors. Do you think there's any tie-in between glasses and cars?
That's
I
part of the
could
rumor.
see
Yeah,
that.
I could see that.
Yeah.
that was part of Kuo's report about what they could add and value to making a car. Although they
Right.
could do that if they just made the cars electronics and systems for other car makers too. Is that there's this assumption, and I think Elon Musk mentioned this for their new upcoming Roadster, the one that the Roadster is coming in a couple of years, that they're going to have an AR thing where if you wear AR glasses while you're driving, it can impose a lot of very useful information in your vision where you don't have to take your eyes off the road. Synced up with the world around you.
Blind spots, yeah.
Yeah, blind spots like the edges of the road at night, all kinds of your speed, everything else.
So that
traffic,
screen-
all this other stuff. Instead of having to look down at the screen, you could get
Right.
more information literally integrated into the
Right.
world around you that you never have to take your eyes off the road. So there's this idea that augmented reality is going to really enhance driving,
Right.
and Apple could do that. Tesla wants to do that in their new Roadster.
Yeah.
You're going to see race car drivers doing it in no
Right.
time.
Yeah.
It's going to end up in Formula One in no time.
And that probably might even be the first implementation of it.
It usually
Yeah,
is.
it's
That's
with
usually where
sports,
they
yeah.
start the kind of stuff,
Yeah.
as long as it passes some regulation.
Right. They could probably just build it into their helmets and
Oh
their
yeah,
visors of their
those helmets are
easily.
already crazy.
Right. Yeah.
They're going to take some UI inspiration from Forza Horizon.
So. Yeah.
Fighter jets and stuff do that stuff now.
Yes, they do.
Right.
That's true.
Like
yeah.
the really expensive fighter jets. So
Yeah.
the idea is to take that down to car level.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to wear glass. I
No.
don't want that to be the only way.
Right. That's the
Like
thing.
nobody wants to have to wear AR glasses
Yeah.
while they drive, but like for it to be a cooler experience.
Right.
Especially people who already wear glasses.
Right. Yeah. Then you got to
Like
put something
me,
on
yeah.
top of them or whatever.
Many years in the future, maybe 15, it could be something where it's actually part of the glass itself.
That's
but,
way cooler.
Yeah.
It's also really weird to think that like we're simultaneously making it so you don't drive and so that your driving experience is so much cooler.
Right.
Like, well, which one is it? Are you trying to not have me drive and not have
Right.
to even like pay attention to the road or have a steering wheel, or do you want me to be a fighter pilot in my car?
Yeah.
I still don't really trust self-driving cars. But,
well, of course not. They're not good. They're not good enough yet.
Even when they are, yeah.
Yeah, but do you trust regular human drivers? I don't. That's the bar they have to beat is your average idiot on the road.
You know, it's something like the reason why
wait.
people like driving more than they like flying, and I think it's that idea of control.
Yeah.
That even though it's more dangerous that you're driving, like, but you know, if you're the
feel like it's
driver, you feel you are doing it. Yes.
Yeah.
And you know, when you put something else in your hands, it's like you're in a plane. It's like, oh, something screwed up.
Yeah,
It's
rationally, even though you're not controlling all the other cars on the road,
yes.
and thus in much more danger. Yeah. And everybody thinks they're a good driver.
That's true.
There's that too.
Man, I haven't driven in half a year. So.
Yeah, that should be our next poll. Are you a better than average driver?
Statistically, I am. Like just in terms of how many accidents or whatever
Right,
people get
exactly.
into.
Yes, I've never been in a car accident, so I would say I'm an excellent driver.
haven't
But in practicality, you know, if you were to sit with me, you'd probably be terrified. So
Yes.
But maybe on a mile by mile basis, who knows where you stand?
that's true. Yeah. So Dan brought up a poll, and we actually did a poll on our site the other day asking about the Apple Pencil. And the question was, would you use Apple Pencil on your iPhone if you could? We got over 1,700 votes. You can actually still vote it's on Twitter if you still want to vote. But an overwhelming majority, 61% said no, and 39% said yes. And the reason why we asked this question is because there is a new rumor that came out about the new iPhone, that the iPhone, the 2018 iPhone could possibly support the Apple Pencil.
I'm just going to interrupt you real quick because Leif looks a little hurt by that poll result.
I just realized I was going to show something. I realized I forgot my pencil.
As someone who loves it, Apple looks a little hurt.
Yeah.
No, okay. I want to let Roman do his thing, and then I will say something. Yeah.
I was just going to say, so if the rumor is that Apple is going to, allow use for an Apple Pencil. I was just going to ask if
On the OLED models.
Yeah, on the OLED model. So on the higher end, I guess the follow-ups to the iPhone 10.
Yeah,
I almost called it the X.
I know. We just had the thing last week of what are you going to call these
Yes.
things?
So the higher end models would support Pencil. So what do you guys think? If you had the option to use a pencil, either the current pencil or a new pencil designed to be more portable, I guess, for the iPhone, would you guys use it?
Okay, so here's the thing. I was one of the people who voted no. Yeah.
Oh.
Yes, I voted no because it's a really big thing. But, I was playing around with this today, because we were talking about that when I was not looking at it. The thing is, and you've probably seen me in a couple of my videos, I usually write on the iPad in landscape mode. And using a regular Apple Pencil, it is actually kind of nice to do this. And I could see that if I just keep moving it up. And it would work. Now, I don't think for portability and everything, the regular Apple Pencil is going to do well. They're going to have to do something, or are going to have to make it smaller. But, the option to use both would be great. I don't think just because you can't use one, you shouldn't be able to use the other. And all I can find is my Apple Pencil here, my regular iPad pencil. But writing in landscape is actually pretty comfortable. I was doing it with a regular Apple Pencil. And, if you use like Notability and you just keep scrolling it down, I could see myself doing that. It's actually, and I can actually fit a lot in here. And Apple Pencil actually has a better point. Obviously I'm not writing with this, but yeah. And I found I could get about 10 words in one line just with my normal handwriting, just on my 7 Plus. So it's a bigger phone. So yeah.
I voted no as well, just because judging it by the Apple Pencil that exists. I would never carry that thing around with my phone.
It's taller than the phone, isn't it?
It's taller than it won't fit in your pocket.
It sticks way out of your pocket if you put it in your
you can't put it in your pants pocket. It won't bend. They have to make one that's maybe longer than a crayon, but small.
Right.
That you could carry with you and put in your pocket and stuff. Also, hopefully, with a finer tip, and a really little bit better resolution on the digitizer on the phone, because you're going to need to be able to write smaller and do tinier things than you would on a big iPad. Yeah. If they did those things, maybe there's not a lot in iOS outside of just sort of writing notes by hand versus typing that really makes sense for the pencil on a small device.
Yeah.
You can mark up images and stuff like that, but you can do that at that size, that resolution. You can do that with your finger kind of as well.
Yeah.
So maybe the next iteration of iOS would add more, cool things you could do with your pencil on an iPhone. But right now, that bar just really isn't cleared for me.
And as far as writing, it does need to be, like you were saying, like a sharper pointer. It needs to feel more precise. As I actually love writing with the Apple Pencil, but the thing is, it feels like writing with a marker, and as opposed to a really sharp pencil.
Yeah,
and,
or like a felt tip or something.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
So on YouTube says we already have 10 styluses on our hands.
Styli.
Styly?
Styli, yeah.
Styluses.
That was the Steve Jobs argument, but then they waited and made the Apple Pencil.
Yeah.
And
and they're great. They really are, especially on a large thing like that when you're going to draw, when you're going to mark up large images and PowerPoints and stuff like that. Really, it is an incredibly good experience on the iPad. It does things you can't do easily with your finger.
There are some solutions out there already, and this is probably where people get to make fun of Apple users. But it's like leather holders just for your Apple Pencil that you can put on your waist.
There's definitely
Apple makes a leather sleeve for the pencil. It's just a sleeve. It's not even a holster or anything. But it's still the pencil itself is just too long. It's just not to be something you carry with your phone. It has to go in a bag or something.
Now, and the thing is, it's called the Apple Pencil, but, they aimed it a lot at artists. And if I estimate, it feels like a brush. And the length is just right for that balance and stuff. I actually like it for writing, and I should say, by the way, I write by hand a lot. That's one of my confessions here. I actually write some drafts by hand, and so I actually do like the feel of it for long-term writing and stuff. But I think most people would just be using it for scribbling notes, marking up photos and maps and stuff to send to people through messages.
Yeah, a lot of the comments were Ryan Abente just simply said no way. A lot of the comments were like no, they just wouldn't use it.
Yeah.
So, were either of you guys Palm Pilot users?
I was
back in the day.
I always wanted one.
I was.
You always wanted one.
I had dreams.
So, yeah, I had a Palm Pilot also, and I use the stylus. The thing that I like about the stylus is I actually like typing with the stylus because. I don't know what it is with my fingers. It's not like I have fat fingers, but I often
dexterity.
I often can't. I often mistype a letter, and sometimes
it's easy to tap exactly that letter.
Yeah, and so there's certain letters. I want to say it's like W and E that for some reason or another I can't get one or the other correct on the first try.
I'm always hitting the space bar instead of B or N. The B or N I somehow miss with my thumb and always get a space bar, and then the autocomplete thinks it's 2 words and it messes up a whole sentence. And when I'm trying to type a B or N, so there's things like that. It would be good to have a stylus. I still remember the Palm's alphabet that you had to learn for their handwriting recognition, which once
T was like a
that's right.
Yeah, because everything was like one stroke without lifting the pen.
Right.
That's right.
And once you got it, it was so fast.
Yeah.
And you were just like, I should just write like this all the time.
Yeah. So I mean, but it doesn't happen frequently enough where I'm like, I absolutely just need a stylus to type anymore.
No.
It just it happens once in a while, and I get over it. I figure it out. So. Yeah, I wouldn't use it.
I use the Google keyboard. I use the swipe typing a lot.
I've never gotten the hang of swipe typing.
It's really good on the Google keyboard. The only thing that messes me up is when you start to use a proper noun that it won't recognize as a swiping thing, and then you're like, oh no, it's never going to know that word. I need to switch to typing it. My brain doesn't ahead of time go, don't even try. No, I start trying to put some name of a video game or something that's just like a weird word, made up word.
That's what I should do more. I should do more experimentation with third-party keyboards like the Google.
Google Keyboard's great on iOS.
Yeah, I have it installed, but I always forget that it's there, and I never switch to it. So I should just switch to it.
is it 12 or maybe even 11 added this, lets you use third-party keyboards in more situations.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And
you're not
Microsoft even had,
constantly
like-
kicked back to the Apple keyboard and then just go
Right.
like, forget it.
Didn't Microsoft have a one-handed keyboard for iOS for a while?
I remember there was some talk about that.
Wouldn't
but-
surprise me.
Probably an accessibility thing, maybe.
Yeah.
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 So
A couple of users on Twitter are saying autocorrect is screwy.
Oh yeah, I hate,
yeah.
I
Yeah.
hate it. But at the same time, I never turn it off because it's just helpful enough to keep
Right.
it. Yes. So
yeah.
This is an area where where's my fancy machine learning making autocorrect awesome?
yes.
Yeah.
It's not. It
And
needs to be way, way better.
And I've been using the dictation more because you can switch to it instead of typing to just say it.
That is something that iOS 12 does, is it makes the mic available on all the third-party keyboards.
Oh,
So
yes. Yeah,
like,
that's
that was
good.
the issue with the Google keyboard for me, is every time I wanted to use dictation, I had to switch
it,
back.
yeah, yeah.
Or I could use the Google one, which swaps over to the Google app,
Yeah.
does Google's voice recognition, copies that, switches back, and pastes it, which is really janky.
Yeah,
Google's
yeah.
Although
a
they're-
lot better.
Their voice recognition is great, but that's a really now
Yeah.
now you can just hit the mic and bring up the thing.
So question on this one. So like as far as a rumor goes, where does this stand? Like likeliness and
The source on this is not a source that is
it's no Ming.
There's Trend Force.
It's
Yeah,
no
it's a
Ming.
trend
it's
force.
a trend force. It's not necessarily sourced from like a whole lot of like they don't have images of the display digitizer from one of the suppliers or something like that. And we're at the place now where Apple should be mass producing these.
Yes, exactly.
Like in the millions.
making them
They're
now,
they're
yeah.
making them. This thing is going to launch in like
Less than a month, maybe?
They're-
Or a month.
yeah, we're 3 weeks out from the announcement, right? And then if it's the 2nd September, and I mean the second Tuesday in September,
Yeah.
like it always is, and then the first ones will go on sale probably late September,
Yeah.
maybe October.
Yeah.
So and to have like 10, 20 million of them ready to go on the first day, they have to manufacture months ahead of time.
Right.
So they're cranking them out now. And usually these kinds of the kind of rumors that we're looking for are we have a picture of the part.
Exactly.
Somebody snuck out a picture
Right.
of the motherboard or whatever. So I give this one kind of like a 30% chance
Yeah,
of
I'm
being
kind of low
real.
on it too.
Yeah. Yeah. One other rumor that came out at the same time as I think TrendForce also predicted or put out is that there's going to be a 512 gigabyte model
Yeah.
of the iPhone of the OLED iPhone.
Yep. That makes sense.
That
to
makes
me.
sense. There's no surprise
Yeah, it's a
about
bigger,
that. Yeah.
a
Yeah,
lot
the
more
f-
capacity.
The flash suppliers have kicked out higher capacity chips
Yeah.
in the meantime, and that makes sense.
I just wonder what the price point of that particular phone.
Yeah,
would be.
is it going to be an additional?
1500.
Right, or is it the same price point as the 256
yeah,
one
are
is
we
now?
are going to be 64, 256, 512,
512.
or are we just like
256
256 and
512?
512.
Yeah.
which would be it'd be awesome if the cheapest OLED ones, the entry level OLED ones were 256.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. Yeah.
How about 128 and 512?
Yeah, that could be it. I'd be down with that. 128 is
Exactly.
just like the
Yeah.
bottom line for the OLED models.
That'd be enough for me, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be
64 is
plenty
enough for me.
64 is enough for me. I got the 256 because I could get it. Because like, but
I would get the 512 because I want to shoot more 4K video. That's the only thing that holds me back whenever I want to shoot a video in 4K.
So you
I don't know if I have enough storage. To
you shoot a
hold.
lot of 4K?
No, but yeah, I shoot all the, like, I mean, because eventually, all I shoot are family videos.
yeah,
And when
keeps
my
them all.
kids are older, 4K is going to be the standard.
yeah.
Yeah. So I want to shoot it at 4K
15K.
now, but you can only hold so many 4K,
Do you have the 64 or the one or the 256?
I have a 256.
Okay, you're fine.
Yeah, you're
You
fine.
don't need more than that.
But it's always shoot more, and then you never use all the video that you're going to use when you edit it. That's the thing.
But I'm also gonna say, like, if you're keeping it on your phone, all that footage.
No, I'm not keeping it all the time.
And the whole point is you're saving it for when they're older.
Yeah.
Then it's like you lose that phone, goodbye. So like no one should be keeping all their video like that on their phone.
No, it's not on my phone all the time. I do export it out and I do edit the video. So, but I like to shoot more video than I need.
You just need a lot of iCloud storage. Is what you need.
Yeah,
which Apple,
which is another thing,
right?
And as we've learned from the past, is that Roman also prints out all his photos.
Yes.
See, that's
So do you also print out or
I print out frame by frame.
Yeah.
We make flip books.
VHS.
I do the reverse. I take my digital videos and I put it onto film.
Yeah.
So I put a camera on a stand in front of a monitor.
Yeah.
And I have it shoot, capture
8mm.
Right.
You want the analog. Gotta get that analog.
So yes. So but yeah, so I'm totally for the 512 gigabyte model. So give me a terabyte. So
that's coming.
Yeah,
it's coming.
It's coming.
It all becomes, everything. The bar gets lower. I don't know if that's the right.
Higher. Bar gets higher.
Bar gets higher.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that'll come eventually. So, the other reason why I want so much storage is because I want to be able to save my group FaceTime videos on my phone.
Okay.
If you're saving those, isn't that like legal? You gotta
notify
us. You gotta
notify. California's a two-party notification state.
Okay.
It's interesting. I noticed that Rev, which I used when I was a freelancer, I used to use that for transcription. And, you could only do it in person, like you record it and stuff like this. But now I've noticed that a couple of apps actually allow you to record phone calls on the iPhone. I know that used to not be possible. That used to be like one of the reasons but Rev now has one that lets you record phone calls. And so I was actually wondering if something has changed in that regard.
Does it just kick on screen recording?
That's a good question. I think it actually records the call. I had to just set the audio. So
that's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. You should know that you have to get people's permission to do that in some states.
Yes. I mean, it's probably an article worth an article on it.
Yeah. There's been apps that do that on Android and stuff, and a lot of the free ones beep unless they let us like a beep every 10 seconds unless you pay, and then that's the worst thing in the world.
Yes.
I guess they're just trying to let you try it out before you subscribe or something.
It'd be funnier if there was like a audio mark. It's like audio jungle, like all after every time.
Yeah, like an audio watermark
every 2 minutes.
Oh god.
So
group FaceTimes, you can't record them because they're not coming.
Right. So the original reason why I brought up group FaceTime is because it was removed from the most current betas of iOS and Mojave. So when they're not going to be available during the release later this month or later in September.
Probably in September.
Yeah.
They will be Apple's terminology is later this year.
Yes, later this year. So it has.
It's been
4 more
rocky
months.
anyway, so it's kind of good because it's not been in release shape.
No, I didn't test out group FaceTime. Did you guys try it out?
I tried it with just two other people, so a third person thing, several betas ago.
Yeah.
The word I've seen from reading from people hasn't really gotten much better, but it's a little iffy on connection. It's a little iffy on updating the video from people. I don't like the interface. I don't think they're going to fix the interface for that. I don't think they think it's wrong, but yeah, the way that people kind of just grow or shrink, it's not a clear way to just divide up the screen. Forget 32 people. Just give me like 4 and divide it and
just do the Brady Bunch thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that seems like it would create more overhead than necessary to me. But I don't know anything about.
Well, scaling a video is not a strenuous
big deal.
thing these days, but you waste a lot of negative space. Like whatever. Anyway, it's coming later this year.
It's coming later this year. So you'll have to continue using Skype for you folks.
That whole version of iOS, it got pulled from Mojave too, but that beta version of iOS, which released this Monday for devs.
That's right.
Got yanked immediately because it was a lot of users were saying really bad performance problems, like you would tap an app and it would take 30 seconds to launch, like really bad. And then within an hour or two, Apple yanked it and pulled it from the download page, pulled the over-the-air update. And just as we were getting in here and getting set up, I read that they dropped a new release of the beta. I don't know if it's the same, if it's technically still beta 7. I'll have to look at the download page.
Yeah.
Or if they're calling it beta 8, but
Right.
there's a fixed version out.
So there's a new version of iOS 12 beta available. So if you guys are using it, you might want to check and see if that update is available to you guys.
And group FaceTime will be gone.
Wasn't there a thing about like they canceled one of the updates because it was like slowing down people's phones?
Yeah, that's what you're talking about.
Yeah. Were you reading the thing?
You were in a group FaceTime. Is that what it was?
You just reading the comments. Hopefully this is the last thing they killed because they bumped back a lot of stuff in iOS 11. They bumped back Apple Pay Cash.
Yeah.
They bumped back
AirPlay 2.
AirPlay 2. They bumped back the iMessages for business things. And what was the other? There's a fourth thing they kicked back after release.
I can't remember. It wasn't Animoji.
No. They added some Animoji in a later update, but those were extras. But yeah, so anyways, there were several major features.
Yeah.
AirPlay 2 was the one we waited on forever.
Yes.
That never made iOS 11's release, and now everybody's like, oh, they're dropping features from iOS 12.
Yeah.
Hopefully this is the last one because they're getting down to the wire.
Yes.
And real quick on YouTube, Shambles was asking about which iOS apps record phone calls without a monthly subscription. Do you know?
Do you have any idea?
No, I haven't exited. Because I don't need to do it that often anymore. These days, I just use a Mac and I use QuickTime, honestly, because I can get calls through my Mac. So I don't use it on my phone. But I got the email and I tried it out, for Rev. Yeah, and that worked. See, Rev lets you do this stuff free, but it's mainly known as a transcription service. So you have the handy audio recording and you send it off to like a freelancer and they do it for like $1 a minute or something like that.
That's REV?
Yes, REV.
Yeah.
Yes.
REVrev.com. I'll put a link in the show notes about Rev. So
yes.
I'll have to try that out.
That's
So
really
free phone call
interesting
recording and easy transcript.
If they record your phone calls now. That's really awesome.
And then you just don't send it off. You're just like, thanks.
Yeah.
I mean, there's an API built into, was it iOS 10 or 11? I think with all the betas, my brain's gotten frazzled. But they added an API for screen recording. I think that was 11.
Yeah.
And then developers can use it to kick off like full screen recordings, like Twitch and stuff. And you can do the control center and hit it, and it just records your entire display, all the sounds your thing makes. You can turn on the mic if you want. So maybe that API lets them do a recording without video, and just the sounds your phone makes and the sounds your thing, and they're using that to record calls. That would be cool.
Yeah, I mean, I could see GroupTime also just implementing that and then having a visual notification that you're being recorded. So this way they just kind of cover everyone.
Yeah.
So, and on one last note for today is the 20th anniversary of the release of the iMac.
Yeah.
So just one small note, we wanted to say happy birthday, iMac.
We covered it a lot a few months ago.
Yeah, you might remember there was this crazy explosion of stuff about the iMac G3. So,
there was the reveal actually happened earlier in the year in 1998. So, and then
this is when they went on sale.
So they went on sale on August 15th, 1998, but they were revealed at Macworld Expo March.
You got me. March. That's my brain doesn't go back that
I think
far.
it was March
20 years ago
of 1998. Yeah. So,
yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. So
yeah, I do we still have one in house? I'd wonder a couple of things. One is, what is the latest OS you can put on it? What was the last and then also if you were actually able to benchmark it, how does it compare?
You would probably no. I was gonna say you can't run any current. Even they've all switched to only Intel processors for years.
because it's a
back,
Motorola chip.
I was thinking you could probably do some web benchmarks, but you probably even have to look for older web benchmarks because the versions of web browsers that'll run on that OS probably don't support the latest JavaScript stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So even web benchmarks is probably some old stuff.
Most I've seen is there was a YouTube channel. Forgive me, guys. I forget what your name was, but yeah, where they got an unopened one, and they plugged it in. It still works.
Oh, that was MKBHD and
Justine.
did a collaboration where they opened an unopened box of it was an original MacBook.
Yeah.
Or
the one I was looking at was a G3.
Yeah, MacBook G3, and fired it up.
It was
of course,
an iMac.
And of course it worked.
Yeah, the one I was watching. Yeah.
Oh, it was an iMac. The one I saw was the old MacBook, the old clamshell weird.
Yeah, it was even the Bondi Blue
they called
one.
a compact. Yeah, it was Bondi Blue. It looked like a compact.
Yeah. Where'd they get an unopened one?
I don't know.
I don't know. Somebody a warehouse that never got something like that.
So
eBay.
On Twitter, Peregrine says, "Oh dear, I feel old."
We feel that way all the time.
I'm going to ask you guys, what is the greatest Mac of all time? Each of you.
That's a good question.
We're going to go with you. Put you on the first spot, Roman, because you're on the left.
Oh, I have to say it's the Macintosh SE.
I was going to say the Macintosh too. That's as far as the world
Macintosh
changing.
SE. It was my first Macintosh. It was the one. It's the reason why I'm here.
Yes.
Is that you were born because of it? Ooh.
I got a Macintosh.
And your parents were that into it.
So in high school, in high school, we got a Macintosh SE to lay out the school newspaper, and that's when I was like, "This is it. This is what I'm going to be doing. Something about this computer for the rest of my life." I thought I was going to be a coder.
Did you guys have a LaserWriter?
Yes.
We had a LaserWriter.
That was the transformative thing for me.
Yeah, we had a LaserWriter. We had a thing
I did the
called
same thing in high school. My mom had the Mac SE, but she brought home the 7 trillion pound LaserWriter that they had, and we used it to produce like fanzines.
Yeah.
My friend and I.
We used to do the school newspaper on it, and we had a thing called a Thunder Scanner, which was what if you had an image writer, you would replace the cartridge on the image writer with a scanner, and it would scan
fancy
documents.
My mom's school got the one that a hand thing you had to drag it down, and you would always use a ruler because it's easy to make it turn, and it would script the scan. But that you could even do that at home was crazy.
Yeah,
it was just bonkers.
Yeah.
But honestly, I was team Apple IIgs then. Apple IIgs was way better than the original Mac. In every way. I'm sorry, Mac fans. That should have won. It had a better interface, better sound, better graphics. It was more expandable, bigger screen. Like everything about it was better, and it lost. And I'm still salty about that.
Yeah.
So Team 2GS all the way.
Yeah. So for me, SE. So for you, is it 2GS or
so best Mac? Then.
Okay. Yes.
So for me, best Apple computer outside of the original Apple II, which kind of brought computers into people's homes as not a business thing.
Yeah.
Then 2GS was my favorite. But as far as the Mac, I was never a fan of that black and white Mac. See, I thought the goofy colors aside, the new iMac was the one that really changed everything.
Yes.
That they put everything in this one box that you needed.
Yeah.
I hated the stupid ads about how there's no step 3 and all that. But really putting the modem and everything else in there, the speakers they had were really good for the time. That display was good. So much of that was a really great computer.
Yeah.
As far as the best memories I have of an Apple computer would be the Apple IIe. That was what I learned how to do some rudimentary coding on and playing and stuff. But the best memories for me would be the Apple IIe.
Yeah. I also have
best Mac though.
Yeah.
As far as the, like seeing it in the house, like using it and stuff, I have to admit it'd probably be the G3. That because it, especially at the space where we were living at, that was the first Mac that I bought outright, by the way. And because it was the one that I really felt like it added something to the place and everything like that. And I was old enough to buy one at that point. So old. But yeah, so that was that.
I also have a fondness for the 2FX, which was at the time, I think they called it, Steve Jobs called it wicked fast because it had a Motorola 040 processor in it, 68040 processor.
Oh, 68040 instead
Yeah.
of the 6800 or the 68020. Yeah.
And it had, I can't remember how many NuBus slots. It had like 4, I think, NuBus slots. I don't remember. But yeah, that because at that time there was a huge jump in speed of the two. And the thing was, the 2FX was like a box, like, I don't remember, maybe it was like 16 inches long.
Yeah.
It was a big box. But I had one, and it was glorious. So, Dan, do you have a favorite Mac?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm not that much younger than you guys, but maybe I am.
Yeah, you are. You're that much younger than me and Roman.
I mean, as a kid, we had old Apples and Macs, and even like the clones. But for me, I think it's going to be the Mac Pro Trees Grader. Because I think for me, when I went into college, that's when it came out, and all video production.
Right.
So like,
Yes.
when I was getting into video and doing stuff, it was the Mac Pro. There was no one was adding on laptops yet. It was just the Mac Pro, and that was the tool you used.
That big silver cheese grater.
I have one on my desk, so.
And it lasted so many years.
Yeah.
That is a durable.
And you still got one in the other studio, don't you? Like
I mean,
That thing tripped power supplies. It was great. It used so much wattage, and people who were right on the edge with a 15 amp circuit, you could pop a 15 amp circuit with that thing all the time.
So.
It was fast, but it was not efficient.
Right.
Yeah.
Hence the crazy cooling system. They had an awesome cooling system with like separate air duct areas and stuff. That was a really cool design.
it looked good, clean.
It looked good when you opened it up. It was really smartly cooled and everything.
Yeah.
It's quiet. I mean, they did a lot of cool stuff with that. There's a reason people still to this day go try to find that case to like mod in PCs and stuff into that case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's heavy as hell, though.
It is.
It
It's
is
a
heavy.
big, huge hunk of aluminum. It's really wasteful, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that just about does it for this week's episode of the Macworld podcast. I'd like to thank Jason and Leif.
Hey.
I'd like to thank Dan, our producer.
Thank you, Rowan.
I'd like to thank you, the audience, for participating. Join us next week, Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Pacific. We'll post the topics on our website, and we'll post a poll and everything to let you guys know what we're going to be talking about. But I hope you can join us next week on Twitter and on YouTube. So see you next week.
Thank you.